والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who by His magnificence is veiled from the perception of the eyes, and by His glory and might is exalted above the attainment of thoughts, whose essence being unique is unlike the essence of created beings, and whose qualities are far removed from the qualities of creatures born in time. High above is Allah from all likenesses, forms and opposites, and by His marks and signs does He lead His creation to a knowledge of His unity. Before does not outstrip Him, from does not accord with Him, and to does not join with Him. In does not inhabit Allah, when does not prevent Allah, and if does not consult with Allah. Over does not overshadow Him, under does not support Him, and before was after Him. Allah acts without contact, He instructs without meeting, and He guides without pointing. Huwa al-awwal wal-akhir, He is the first and the last. Wal-zahir wal-batin, He is the outward, clearly evident through the manifestation of His attributes permeating the universe. Yet despite that, He is the inward, the imperceptible, the invisible to our biological eyes. And may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon all His noble prophets and messengers, starting from Adam, through to Moses, through to Jesus, and through to the last of them all, the chosen one, the prince of the prophets, Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
I want to again thank UC Musa for calling me to New Zealand, to Christchurch, to participate in this event. The sincerity and the passion that I find in the committee, and also the congregation in general, is truly an inspiration and a motivation for me. And it was one of the things that also motivated Sheikh to come all the way from across the globe to also participate in these events and to meet you all as well. He comes from a very sacred mosque, one of the two most sacred mosques in Turkey, in fact, in which the founder of the mosque was the Imam of Fatih Sultan Muhammad, Fatih Sultan Mehmed, founded in 1408 in the current era. And he is now the head Imam for the last 16 years. That has been his role there. And so it was one of the reasons for him to come here, because he wanted to meet the lovely people of New Zealand. And truly, it is something that is very inspirational to myself as well. The topic today is arguments for the existence of God in an inordinately material age. In an age where we have so much focus and so much concentration and so much efforts made to increase our worldly aspirations. It's something quite unique when you look at the history of time in general. An individual, if they, young ones in particular in the West, they strive their hardest, they do their utmost in order to gain the best marks that they can possibly get, improve their marks to such a degree that at the end of year 12, they want to better themselves and get into an area of study that will really provide for them an elevated existence in this world, success in this world. And they are quite distraught. As many of you know here as uni students, many are distraught when they cannot get into the area of study that they work so hard to get into. There's always this element of continuous improvement in mind when it comes to one's worldly career. And then if somebody were to get into their field of study at university, they prioritize their life so that they do the best that they can, so that at the end of their period, they walk out of there with a degree or a diploma. If they do not attain it, they are again distraught. They enter a state of anxiety. Anxiety through the study, depression if they don't get the marks that they wanted, and if they do not complete what they wanted. If they complete the university degree, they get into a job, let us say a solicitor, somebody wants to become a lawyer. They work their hardest in order to get their foot into the door and become a solicitor for a firm, willing to work for free months on end in order to get the opportunity to actually have a paying job there. They will work day and night, they will do whatever their bosses tell them to do in order to try and please them, just so that they may get this job. If they don't, again, distraught, worried, and they enter a state of depression. If they get the role, they work very hard for years on end, especially as a junior. Eventually they'll become a lawyer. If they don't become a lawyer, again they become distraught and distressed. If they become the lawyer, then they want to become a barrister, or they want to become a QC, and then eventually they want to be a partner in a firm. Always focused on continuous improvement, and always distraught and devastated if they do not achieve their goals. But somebody at the age of 16 who's memorized 8 verses of the Quran, the short verses from the end, 40 years later still only know those 8 verses of the Quran, are they distraught? Are they worried? Are they in a state of depression? Are they in a state of concern? Why is it that improvement and elevation and continuous betterment for worldly things takes up so much of our time and is on the highest level of priority in our lives, and yet when it comes to the analysis of our spiritual being, we have hardly any priority, hardly any time for it. And when we do not achieve greater than what we have at the moment, when it comes to the spiritual realm, we're not distraught, we're not in a state of anxiety. Some people, God forbid, even take their own lives when they can't achieve the marks that they aspire towards, or the degree that they want to get, or the job that they want to get. And yet we are not distraught. Why? Because this is indeed an age in which we are overly materialistic, even if we do not realize it. And we have to ensure, as I said in the khutbah yesterday, that during this month of Ramadan, it is not something that you affiliate with only to increase the quantity of your worship. That's what we focus on in Ramadan. It is the quantity of the worship, that I pray more. Especially in Taraweeh, we pray a lot more. That I read the Quran more, interact with the Quran more in terms of reading it more. That I congregate more. We are more prone to congregating during the month of Ramadan. But it is always based, or in most cases, based on quantity, not quality. This month of Ramadan, my suggestion is, look at the quality of your worship. In the salah, how focused am I in the salah? How committed am I in the salah? How much can I disconnect from the matrix of the dunya and ensure that my consciousness is only for Allah, reflection on Allah, being in awe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the salah, being in a state of reverence to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the salah, being in a state of consciousness, being in a state of shame for the wrong we may have done, but being in a state of hope that through this salah we will have expiation, that through this salah we will better ourselves so that we do not slip more readily in the future. That is what worship is for. That is why Allah gifted you with worship, to bring out the best in you, not just a ritualistic act. Look, read the tafsir on Surah Baqarah. We're going to go through that tonight, inshallah, the Musalla, though we won't reach these sections. One of the themes is about a people that were honored, that were given certain rites and practices, but those rites and practices were only conducted outwardly, and the inward spirit, the inward essence was lost. Things just became ritualistic. And the warning there is, do not fall into the same trap. Do not fall down the same path. Do not conduct an act of worship just to tick a checkbox that you've completed it. It's not what Islam is. It's not about checkboxes. And so, in this